Hello everyone, we are from Group 10 that consists of Mimi Jamilah and Juhrora Viva. On this video, we are going to explain about British and American accent. Here are topics that we are going to discuss in this presentation. Varieties found in accent, some British accent, and 2 American accents. Let's start from the first material, the varieties found in accents. This is how accents differ from one to another. Whatever type of accent, geographical, foreign, historical, social, or stylistic, these differences between them can be categorized in 4 ways. They can be differ in phonological inventories, phonetic features, phonological distribution, or in lexical distribution. First, phonological inventories. For instance, SESP or Southern England Standard Pronunciation has the vowel a, like in the word strut. But many people with a Northern English accent use the vowel u, so it will be strut. In their system, they even don't have the vowel a. There is no a in their system at all. Therefore, they have a different phonological system. It is also well known that general American accent does not include the vowel phoneme a. This is also another instance of a phonological inventory difference. Then, phonetic features. One accent might also differ from another in phonetic features. Younger speakers of SESP or Southern England Standard Pronunciation pronounce the word trap with an opener vowel a than older speakers of SESP, which tend to pronounce it as e. This is a phonetic variation of the same phoneme. So, this is not a difference in inventories. The final vowel in the word thank you, as pronounced by many young women, is a more central clause. This is not an extra phoneme, but a phonetic variation of u in the context of the y consonant. Phonological distribution. A well-known example of phonological distribution differences is the distinction between rhotic and non-rhotic accents. Southern England Standard Pronunciation, which is non-rhotic, in the phoneme r cannot occur before a consonant or before silence. The general American accent, which is rhotic, for phoneme r, it does occur even before a consonant and before silence. This difference is simply distributional. For example, in the word farm, in general American accent is farm. Meanwhile, in Southern England Standard Pronunciation, it is farm. There is no difference in the inventories of phonemes in the 2 accents, nor necessarily a difference in a phonetic form, merely a difference in the distribution of that particular phoneme. Lexical distribution refers to instances where a phoneme can appear in the same phonological context as a rule, but not in a particular word or group of words. Southern England Standard Pronunciation and most other accents in Britain allow both the in word final position, but whereas most accents in England and Wales have the at the end of it, most Scottish accents have th. In this case, the choice of phoneme depends on the particular word. Another well-known lexical distribution difference distinguishes SESP from many other accents in Britain. There is a group of words that take a, typically in words that have a voiceless consonant following. For example, like in the word class, whereas other accents use the sound a. However, there is no a rule for all such cases, because even SESP has mass for the word mass, and nasty for the word nasty do not rhyme in SESP. So, there is no general rule that establishes a difference in the phonological distribution of the two vowels. Rather, it depends on the selection of the words. It is a case of a different lexical distribution. These four kinds of difference affect both consonant and vowels, and also word stress. There are a number of instances of word stress differences between British and American accents. Now let's discuss about British accent. The British accents that we are going to explain are London English, Tyneside English, and Standard Scottish English. London English. Defining the London English accent. By London English, we mean the vernacular working-class London accent spoken in the borough of the East End of London. There are more and less broad varieties of this accent, ranging from Cockney at one end of the spectrum to accents which are closer to RV, or received pronunciation, in some respect at the other end. London English vowels. In London English, the A phoneme is often realized as a short A type sound. This then encroaches upon the A phoneme, which is often realized closer to A. The other vowels also participate in this vowel shift, which may be depicted as follows. A depicted as A. A depicted as A. A depicted as A. A depicted as I. I depicted as I. I depicted as I. Additionally, in the Cockney version of London English, the ow sound is often realized as a long A, as in the word sound and part, since this vowel is distinct from the realization of both A, as in the word part, and A, in the word pat. The distinction between the three phonemes is preserved. Note that since the realization of A in London English has not shifted, there is a clear difference in vowel quality between it and the A realization of O. London English consonant. London English differs from received pronunciation both in terms of the realization of consonant phonemes and arguably in terms of the consonant phoneme system. In Cockney. For your information, Cockney is an accent spoken in the East End of London. It has often been noted that received pronunciation minimal pairs such as thin and fin are homophones for many Cockney speakers, both being pronounced fin. This is referred to informally as fronting by Wells, 1982. Whether may be said to be absent in Cockney depends very much on whether is uttered in any context by Cockney speakers. If one found that rather than invariably turns up in all other contexts. Then one could reasonably conclude that Cockney speakers simply lack the contrast, and that there is a systemic difference here between Cockney and Received pronunciation. But many speakers are variably with respect to this phenomenon, so we cannot conclude that they lack the th sound. L vocalization. When the secondary articulations becomes dominant, the alveolar articulation may be lost, resulting in a vowel-like articulation. When lip rounding is added to this articulation, the resulting realization sounds very much like a v sound when in coda-position in the syllable. This can be seen in Cockney pronunciations such as in the word girl, Bethnal, and healthy. They pronounce them as g, Bethnal, and healthy. This is known as L vocalization because the L is realized as a vowel type sound. Cockney L vocalization seems to be spreading to other towns in the UK. Absence of h in Cockney. Cockney use the article "n" before words such as house and hair. Cockney speakers have been observed to have the phenomenon of hyper correction, in which they try to make the words appropriate to what is considered the proper pronunciation, found in a prestige accent, which do not require correction. For example, they hyper correcting air to hair, air to hair, and so on. This strongly suggests that Cockney speakers simply do not have an h phoneme. Tyneside English. By the Tyneside English accent, otherwise known as the Geordie accent, we mean the accent spoken by the natives of the urban areas to the north and south of the last few miles of the River Tyne before it meets the North Sea, including principally Newcastle upon Tyne to the north of the river and Gateshead to the south. E and O. The Tyneside equivalents of received pronunciation A and O are E and O. The Tyneside A phoneme is realized in the speech of many Tyneside speakers as a long monophthong A. This realization varies with a diphthongal realization ending in schwa. The Tyneside O phoneme may also be realized as a long monophthong by many speakers. And non-rhoticity. Tyneside is non-rhotic, and this has, of course, affected the development of the vowel system. Some Tyneside speakers lack a contrast between and in certain words, so that pairs such as work and walk are homophones. Speakers with a broader Tyneside accent maintain the distinction between and in words like walk and talk, so that O is realized as and A realized as work, walk, work, work. Tyneside English consonant H sound in Tyneside. Although almost every accent of English allows for non-realization of H in unstressed words of a functional category, Only some allow for non-realization of h sound in the stressed syllables, a force of a lexical category. These accents can be found in many parts of England, but not in Tyneside. H is almost always realized in stressed syllables in Tyneside. Standard Scottish English. Defining the Standard Scottish English accent. Standard Scottish English, or SSE, is the standard accent which many Scots speak when speaking the Standard English dialect. It is characteristic of university-educated, middle-class Scottish speakers. It is distinct from what is referred to as Scots, which is derived from the Northumbrian dialect of Old English. Scots is associated with working-class speakers in Scotland. Standard Scottish English vowels. The U versus U and U versus A distinction. One of the major systemic differences between received pronunciation and Standard Scottish English is that Standard Scottish English does not have the pool type of distinction. Since Standard Scottish English does not have phonemically long vowels, there is no U or U. Instead, there is a single phoneme, U. This is realized as long U context and realized as short U elsewhere. In Scottish accent other than Standard Scottish English, the realization of this vowel can be even more fronted than the high central. Absence of versus contrast. Another major systemic difference between received pronunciation and Standard Scottish English lies in the fact that the versus contrast is missing in Standard Scottish English, which has instead a single phoneme This means that for many SSE speakers, received pronunciation minimal pairs such as caught and not are homophones. Many Standard Scottish English speakers have borrowed the versus contrast from Anglo-English and thus have in words such as not and caught, but in words such as not and caught. Standard Scottish English consonant. The V versus V distinction. As in which and which, wheels and wheels, and what with what. As the spelling suggests, is a distinction which has been largely lost in received pronunciation, but is still present in Standard Scottish English and some American accents. The V phoneme is realized as a precise bilabial fricative with a secondary palar articulation.
Two American accents. Defining the New York City English accent. The New York accent is widely recognized in the United States. Remember that the standard accent in the United States, generally American, is rhotic, and then rhoticity is regarded as more prestigious than non-rhoticity. New York City vowels. The E vowel realization of the E phoneme, as in the word heard, is widely regarded as characteristic of New York speech and is often said to characterize the Brooklyn accent. Also, as we noted earlier, it is by no means restricted to Brooklyn. However, it's highly stigmatized and it's probably dying out. This realization occurs before a coda consonant, so that it does not occur in non-rhotic pronunciation of Brooklyn. Some speakers also have an E realization of O phoneme, also before a coded consonant, so that some minimal pairs have become homophones. Realizations of O. New York speakers often have O and O realization of the O phoneme, as in pow, power, pour, and with an even higher starting point UA, thus creating the possibility of partial merger with the UA phoneme. Rhoticity and non-rhoticity. The discussion above shows that New York speech has undergone the transition from rhoticity to non-rhoticity and is reverting for many speakers to rhoticity. This phenomenon may well be resulting in greater occurrence of intrusive R, since a speaker who has been non-rhotic but it is attempting to be rhotic may well insert intrusive R as part of a general strategy to utter R, where it may otherwise be absent. Realization of S and Z. The phonemes S and Z are often realized as either a fricates T and Z, or dental stops T and D. The variation is social-linguistically determined. Note that for speakers who have dental stops, the phonemic distinction between alveolar and dental stops is maintained, as in the word thin we see teen. To many speakers of other varieties of English, the distinction may well be difficult to notice. Defining Texan English. Texas is a West state said to be larger than France. It is therefore unsurprising that there is much variability within Texan English. Many educated Texans speak both a Texan variety of English and General American, depending on the context of utterance. Texan English is rhotic in many parts of the state, but as one approaches the eastern border with Louisiana, variable non-rhoticity can be found. Whether varieties of Texan English can be considered southern varieties of U.S. English depends on what one considers to constitute the linguistic American South. Some dialect maps exclude Texas from the South, while others include eastern parts of the state. Many of the pronunciation features one encounters in Texas can be found in neighboring states, but there are some pronunciation features that are said to be specifically Texan. Texan vowels. The I phoneme of the Lexile set price is often monophongized in Texan speech. The phenomenon referred to informally by Wells, 1982, as price smoothing result in a long monophone, as in price pronounced price. Smoothing can be heard in neighboring states. Monophonization can also be heard in the Texan realization of the O phoneme in words of the lexical set choice, so that words such as oil are pronounced oil. Also, the phoneme is sometimes pronounced with a schwa of glide, as in all. In addition to monophonization in Texas and in many southern states, there is a diphthongization of the phonemes e, and a in words of the lexical sets kid, dress, and trap. The diphthongs in question have a schwa of glide, so that kid is pronounced kid, dress is pronounced dress, and trap is pronounced trap. The e phoneme in words of the lexical set dress also undergoes diphthongization to a before phoneme sh, j, and ng, so that the word special pronounces spatial sounds that just like the word spatial. The phonemic distinction between the e of the lexical set dress and the e of the lexical set kid is neutralized before coda n in the speech of many Texans, so that pairs such as can and kin are both pronounced as kin. So the e phoneme has a wide variety of realizations among speakers of Texan English, from e to a to a. The au diphthong in words of the set moth often has a higher starting point in Texas and in neighboring states, so that the word mouse is pronounced mouth. The phoneme in the words of the lexical set lot often has a diphthongal realization in Texan English, so that the word dog is pronounced dog, often written informally as dog. Texan consonants. The consonants of Texan English are broadly parallel to those of General American, featuring dark chi in all contexts, flapping and rhoticity. However, as one approaches the border with Louisiana, variable non-rhoticity can be observed, since the southern accent to the east of Texas are largely non-rhotic. We saw the SSE speakers have retained the W with the W distinction in pairs such as which, and Wales. This can also be attested among some speakers of Texan English.